Have you ever had a time in your life when you felt like you didn't get what you deserved from God? Friends, it's Pastor Mike from Fellowship Church. Always love to connect with you midweek. Hope you're having a wonderful week. Hope you enjoy this cool weather. Know that we love you, praying for you. That question for you again, have you ever had a time, an event, a circumstance, a moment in your life when you felt like you didn't get what you deserved from God? Let me tell you about a story that happens in the Gospels. It's recorded in both Matthew and Mark's Gospels. It's a story that we sometimes call the Transfiguration. You want to impress your friends this week with a Bible word? Try using that one. Transfiguration. It's the story of Jesus taking three disciples, Peter, James, and John, takes them up on a mountain. This is kind of towards the end of the Gospels. Takes them on a mountain, and when they're on the mountain, Jesus is somehow transformed or transfigured. He goes through some kind of a metamorphosis, and his earthly body takes on kind of heavenly characteristics, looked like an angel. In fact, Mark tells us that his clothes were so white you couldn't bleach them that white. Read that part. And then standing right there with Jesus were Moses and Elijah. So two heavenly characters, two people who had been dead for 800 to 1,000 years. All of a sudden the disciples just see three of them. There's Jesus. He was there a minute ago by himself. And now there's Moses and Elijah in kind of their heavenly form. And the three of them are all standing on top of the mountain and they're having a conversation. What in the world would they be talking about on this night? But we call that the Transfiguration. I think Jesus took the disciples with him just so they could see it for a minute and go, wow, that was really, really cool. Okay, Pastor Michael, Transfiguration, I like that idea. Jesus' heavenly body certainly sent a message to the disciples. Why does that matter today? Well, we just finished a series at Fellowship Church on the man named Moses, and we talked about a number of events in his life. And one of the things we didn't talk about is that after all that Moses had done, his obedience to God, bringing the people out of Egypt, is going up and down the mountain. He's having these conversations with God. He's in the cloud. I mean, Moses' face is changed. After everything that Moses went through, when Moses finally brought all these people, all these complainers and bellyachers to the brink of the promised land, God says, Moses, you can't go in there. They can all go in there, and they messed up pretty bad too, but Moses, you know, because of your sins along the journey, you can't go into the promised land. You're going to die right here. And I don't know about you, but I read that story and think, hey, God, that's not fair. If anybody in that tribe deserved to go into the promised land and finally receive what you had prepared for all these people, if anybody deserved it, it'd be Moses. And here Moses dies right on the brink of it. He could look over the hill and see what everybody else is going to have, and yet Moses died right there. That's not fair. In my opinion, he didn't get what he deserved. But maybe he did. Because that may be the end of Moses' life in the Old Testament, but when we see Moses in the New Testament, he's coming down from heaven and he's part of the whole Jesus story. So he's part of the plan for the redemption of the world. God is sharing things with Moses and allowing Moses to be a little piece of the story in the New Testament. 1,000 years after he died, Moses still gets to be part of the story. Maybe he didn't get what he deserved in this life. But boy, I'll tell you, God still used him in a really cool way so that when the disciples are on that mountain looking up at Jesus, they're seeing, well, there's Jesus, I got him. And who are those? That's Moses and Elijah. And they're both dead. They've been dead for a long, long time. Yeah, I would say that in this life, Moses may not have gotten what he deserved. That's just my opinion. But boy, I'll tell you, in the next life, God sure made it up to him in spades. Maybe you're at a place in your life, or you know somebody else in your life of whom you would say, they're not getting what they deserve, or that's not fair. Well, maybe not in this life, but God sure has a way of making up for it at some point in time in the future. Friends, may that be a truth that you can kind of hang your hat on and say, you know, I know that right now this might not seem fair, but boy, I tell you, God's got a really good memory. Even if it takes 1,000 years, he's got a really good memory. And boy, Moses, I don't think he regretted anything on that day. Friends, I hope that story gives you a little sense of hope. It sure gives me a sense of hope. That I know for sure. I hope that you're having a wonderful week. Hope that you're enjoying this great weather outside. Hope that you and your family are doing well. And hope you know how much you are loved. Take care. God bless. See you soon. Bye-bye.